Hello dear students, once again welcome to the session where we are discussing the tiger reserves of India. This is part 2 of the session where we are going to discuss the other major states that have the highest population of tigers. Coming at second position is Karnataka, which has 5 major tiger reserves. And if you look at the different kinds of tiger reserves that are there in Karnataka, just familiarize it quickly. You have Bandipur, Bhadra, Biligiri Ranganatha, Dandeli Anshi or otherwise also called as the Kali Tiger Reserve, and the very famous Nagarhole Tiger Reserve. So it's 5 tiger reserves that you have to be familiar with, but which are the ones that are important from Karnataka? When it comes to your Karnataka area, the one major tiger reserve that's super important is your Bandipur Tiger Reserve. Bandipur has the second highest number of tigers in India. Okay, and recently Bandipur was again in news because Bandipur was one of those very first tiger reserves that were inducted under your Project Tiger. Okay, so it has a very huge legacy of tiger conservation, and very recently Bandipur is celebrating the 50th anniversary or the 50th year of Project Tiger. If you've noticed, as part of this, you've had your Prime Minister visit these areas, etc. So, and because that gives a lot of prominence is why we are discussing Bandipur. Through your Bandipur Tiger Reserve, you have a river called as your Nugu River. Okay. Now, this is a good fact, but coming to the downside of certain things, very recently there was a report that said almost 50% of the area of Bandipur Tiger Reserve is covered with weeds. The state government is now taking certain measures to clear up these weed population from this area. Okay. The final point that puts Bandipur in news again is because of the presence of a certain temple called as your Belade Kuppe temple. Okay, so you have a pilgrimage sort of a site, you have people that are trying to reach to these sites, and that has also affected the ecosystem a bit when it comes to Bandipur, and that is part of your current affairs. Coming to the other major tiger reserves of Karnataka, you have the Nagarhole Tiger Reserve. In your Nagarhole Tiger Reserve, it was in news for 2 major reasons. First of all, you have a certain procession called as your Gajapayana. Gajapayana is basically an elephant procession that marks the beginning of the Mysore Dasara. Okay, so you know you have the Dasara festivities which are super grand when it comes to Mysore, and the festivities are marked, or the beginning of it starts with this huge elephant procession that starts from your Nagarhole Tiger Reserve. So that is why it comes in news. Apart from that, Nagarhole was also in news because of the protest conducted by a certain tribe called as your Jenu Kuruba tribe. The Jenu Kuruba are primarily honey collectors, and they were protesting for certain rights of theirs. The issue is not relevant for us from UPSC, but this has put Nagarhole in our current affairs spotlight. Moving forward, you have the Bhadra Tiger Reserve from Karnataka, again coming in news because Bhadra is heavily infested by a certain kind of an invasive alien species called as your Micania micrantha. Okay, otherwise very commonly called as the mile-a-minute weed. Mile-a-minute means it in a span it grows so quickly that it'll, in a very quick manner it will infest large areas. That's why it's called as your mile-a-minute weed. So now to put it into perspective, in Karnataka you do have 5 major. Now, so to put it into perspective, in Karnataka, you do have 5 major tiger reserves, but the ones that are important for us are Bandipur, Nagarhole and Bhadra. Okay. Moving forward, let's go a little bit to the north where you have Uttarakhand, and in Uttarakhand you have two major tiger reserves. One is your Corbett Tiger Reserve and the other one is your Rajaji Tiger Reserve. Corbett, otherwise called as your Jim Corbett Tiger Reserve, and your Rajaji Tiger Reserve. Out of both of these, the Corbett is the one that we have to discuss in detail. And why so? Because the first fact that I'm just going to tell you, Corbett Tiger Reserve hosts the highest number of tigers, or the tiger reserve which has the highest number of tigers. So to quickly recollect, if you look at the states which have the most number of tigers, Madhya Pradesh is the state which has the most number of tigers. Uttarakhand comes only third in that list. But if you look at individual tiger reserves, the tiger reserve which has the highest number of tigers is your Jim Corbett Tiger Reserve. Keep this fact in your mind. This is a little bit confusing. That's why I'm repeating it again. Now, if you look at Jim Corbett Tiger Reserve, it's part of a national park, which was actually the first national park in India. It was created sometime in your 1936 and it was called as your Haley National Park at that point. And later on, after independence, the name changed and now you have it as Jim Corbett Tiger Reserve. Another important fact related to Corbett is a thing where you have the Ram Ganga river passing through it. I hope you guys have noticed, I do not share facts where unless it's a very super important river like maybe Brahmaputra or Ganga or something. Other than that, anytime a river passes through a tiger reserve, only that information is shared. Okay, if it's on the boundaries, if it is having a west boundary or an east boundary as a river, we generally do not discuss this because we do not see UPSC, picking on those points. Ram Ganga over here passes through your Corbett Tiger Reserve. So we're done with Karnataka, we're done with Uttarakhand. Now we move into Maharashtra, which features as the state which has the fourth highest number of tigers. Right after which all? Quick recollection, have a quick recollection over here. You first have your Madhya Pradesh, followed thereafter by Karnataka, then you have Uttarakhand, and now you have Maharashtra. Maharashtra has 6 major tiger reserves, which are your Bor Tiger Reserve, Melghat Tiger Reserve, Navegaon Nagzira Tiger Reserve, Pench Tiger Reserve, Sahyadri Tiger Reserve, and Tadoba Andhari Tiger Reserve. And so any guesses as to which one we would be discussing in detail? Anyone who's been following current affairs for quite some time, this is your time to go and comment in your comment section if you know which one we're going to discuss in detail. Any guesses? Okay. If you've guessed Pench, you are correct. If you've guessed Melghat, you are correct. And a little bit of Tadoba Andheri, but then if you've guessed your Pench and Melghat or Tadoba Andheri, good job with following your current affairs. So let's have a look at why these are the important ones. As I told you, Pench Tiger Reserve is a tiger reserve that's shared between Maharashtra and your Madhya Pradesh. We normally take the Maharashtra one whenever you see the news. The Maharashtra one is a little bit larger in size and this is the one that we are discussing. Pench was in news for so many things. First of all, in Pench, they have inaugurated India's first dark sky park. This is an area which is very secluded from different kinds of light sources. You will absolutely not have any kind of light pollution over there so that you can have good, proper, clear observation of the sky. So in your Pench Tiger Reserve of Maharashtra, India has now inaugurated India's first dark sky park. The second thing is, Pench was also in news because they have launched an AI-based fire detection system. It's a very important thing to understand, because all of these sites do have this dry, deciduous kind of trees which do have a chance of forest fires. And in Pench, there have been previous instances where there have been forest fires. So they have launched something where, any kind of false alarms or any kind of, even if you see something that can be prevented in the form of a fire, they can detect it using your AI-based fire detection systems. That doesn't stop it there. I would say Pench is one of those tiger reserves that have been in news for not the same reputation kind of a thing, for different varieties. And for example, the third one that I'm going to talk about, the Totla Do Reservoir. So Totla Do Reservoir is an artificial reservoir that is there in your Pench Tiger Reserve. It's a man-made reservoir. Now, there have been fishing activities, etc. over there. In this Totla Do Reservoir, what they have done is they have deployed an advanced sonar system that can combat any kind of illegal fishing activities, thereby making Pench the first tiger reserve in India to deploy an advanced sonar system to combat illegal fishing activities. Come on, look at all the different varieties that have put Pench into news. Moving forward, coming to Melghat Tiger Reserve, Melghat again was in news because you have the sighting of an extremely rare, in fact, this specific species that is looking so cute and standing right over here is one of those species which was considered to be extinct in this area. Very recently, they have found the forest owlet, and this sighting has put Melghat Tiger Reserve in news. Melghat was also in news because of certain activities of the Korku tribe. The Korku tribe is super important when it comes to the tiger conservation in Melghat. Why? Because tiger is considered as the chief deity of the Korku tribe. They are tiger worshippers, and when it comes to any kind of protection measures, they do play an active role over there. Okay, so Melghat was in news because of these major reasons, making it important for us. And finally, your Tadoba Andheri. Tadoba Andheri Tiger Reserve was actually the first tiger reserve to start a community-owned e-safari service. So now they have electric vehicles that are doing the safari services in the buffer area of this tiger reserve, making it the first tiger reserve to have a community-owned e-safari. This is why it was there in news. So now to sum it up, from Maharashtra, you have all of these tiger reserves, but which are the ones that are important? Melghat, Pench, and Tadoba Andheri. And thus we come to an end for the second session of the tiger reserves of our country.